In December 1900, a boat called Hesperus set sail for the island of Flannan Isles, one of the 7 islets also known as the Seven Hunters of the Flannan Isles off the coast of northwestern Scotland. Captain James Harvey was tasked with delivering a relief lighthouse keeper as part of a regular rotation. The journey was delayed a few days by bad weather, and when Harvey and his crew finally arrived, it was clear that something was wrong. None of the normal preparations at the landing dock had been made. The flagstaff was bare, and none of the keepers came to greet them. The keepers, as it turned out, weren't on the island at all. All 3 of them had vanished. Flannan Moor had its peculiarities. The island's only permanent residents were sheep, and herders referred to it as the other country, believing it to be a place touched by something paranormal. Flannan Moor had long elicited a sort of fearful reverence in its visitors. The main draw to the remote location was a chapel built in the 7th century by St. Flannan. Even those who never prayed were moved to worship while on Flannan Moor. Superstitions and rituals, like circling the church's ruins on your knees, were adopted by those passing through, and many considered Flannan Moor to have an indefinable aura that could not be ignored. What the Hesperus crew did find at the lighthouse was a set of perplexing clues. The replacement keeper, Joseph Moore, was the first to investigate, and reported an all-encompassing sense of dread as he ascended the cliff toward the newly constructed lighthouse. Inside, the kitchen table contained plates of meat, potatoes and pickles. The clocks were stopped, and there was an overturned chair nearby. The lamp was ready for lighting, and 2 of the 3 oilskin coats belonging to Thomas Marshall, James Ducat and Donald MacArthur were gone. The gate and the door were firmly shut. These clues only led to more questions. Why would one of the keepers have gone out without his coat? And for that matter, why would all 3 have left together at all when the rules forbade it? Someone needed to man the post at all times, so something unusual must have drawn them out. When Moore returned with his report, Harvey had the island searched. The hunt came up empty. The captain then sent a telegram to the mainland. Quote, "A dreadful accident has happened at Flannan's. The 3 keepers, Ducat, Marshall and the Occasional, have disappeared from the island. On our arrival there this afternoon, no sign of life was to be seen on the island. We fired a rocket but, as no response was made, managed to land Moore, who went up to the station but found no keepers there. The clocks were all stopped, and other signs indicated that the accident must have happened about a week ago. Poor fellows, they must have been blown over the cliffs or drowned trying to secure a crane or something like that. Night coming on, we could not wait to make something as their fate. I have left Moore, MacDonald, Boymaster and 2 seamen on the island to keep the light burning until you make other arrangements. Will not return to Oban until I hear from you. I have repeated this wire to Moorhead in case you are not home. I will remain at the telegraph office tonight until it closes, if you wish to wire me." End quote. Further investigations also led nowhere, though the lighthouse logbook provided a new set of confounding details. On December the 12th, an entry from Marshall described, quote, "severe winds, the likes of which I've never seen before in 20 years. End quote. He wrote that Ducat had been quiet and MacArthur had been crying, which would have been odd behaviour for a man with a reputation as tough and experienced seafarer. The next day, Marshall reported more storm details and wrote that all 3 of them had been praying. Another odd bit of behaviour from well-seasoned keepers in a brand new, supposedly safe lighthouse. Strangest of all, there were no reported storms in the area on December the 12th, 13th or 14th. All should have been calm up to December the 17th. The last report in the book, December the 15th, read, "Storm ended. Sea calm. God is over all." Speculation ran wild. Was it something supernatural? Sea creatures? A case of madness and murder? A government operation? Foreign spies? Even aliens? Ultimately, It was the evidence outside the lighthouse that provided the most promising lead in explaining what had become of the three keepers. Over at the western landing platform, damage from the recent storms reached as high as 200 feet above sea level. Ropes that were usually affixed to a crate on a supply crane were littered about. Robert Muirhead, superintendent of the Commissions of Northern Lights, wrote in his official report, quote, "I am of the opinion that the most likely explanation of this disappearance of the men is that they had all gone down on the afternoon on Saturday, 15th of December, to the proximity of the West Landing, to secure the box with the mooring ropes, etc., and that unexpectedly a large roller had come upon the island, and a large body of water growing up higher than where they were, coming down upon them, had swept them away with resistless force." End quote. While this, or a similar approximation, seems possible, the explanation left considerable room for doubt. The lack of bodies, supposedly calm conditions, and sheer experience of know-how of the lighthouse keepers still hadn't been accounted for, and never would be. In the years following, other keepers claimed to hear voices in the salty air screaming out the names of Thomas Marshall, James Ducat, and Donald MacArthur.